So I posted this on Instagram and I asked you guys, should I make a video on how I shoot with a dome and is it worth it?
Touching the dome.
Yes, it is worth it. 100% it's worth getting a dome lens for your GoPro. In this video, we're gonna touch on some lighting conditions, different types of domes that you can actually get for your camera, the settings that I use, and I also wanna touch on just the conditions to get the best possible content with one of these. So let's get stuck into it.
Back. I'm about 2 arms length away from the actual dome.
Straight up, there's two kinds of domes that you can buy. There's this kind of more manual approach, which you have access to the back screen, or there's the full housing, which you essentially just drop your camera into the dome and it clicks together. Pros and cons of each. I have the more manual approach. It's cheaper. I also have access to the back panel when I'm shooting. The negative is that you actually have to take the camera apart. You have to take this front screen off your GoPro and then connect your dome. So it takes a little bit longer to set up, which is a bit of a con. But the one thing that I think is way better with this more manual approach is that there is literally less probability of any light refraction. Like what's happening here is that this lens is directly in front of my camera sensor's lens. On the other one, it's way quicker to set up because all I have to do is like open up that back casing, push my GoPro into it, click it together, and away I go. I then no longer have access to the back touchscreen, which is a downside. And I've also seen, once or twice, I've seen like some weird light refraction going on, which was like, I think it's just too many screens in front of the sensor. So just things to weigh up. When you take this screen off your GoPro, I have had in the past like water residue get inside this screen when I've put it back together. The way that I've counteracted that is I've just bought 2 cameras. One of them is dedicated to shooting with dome, which is my Hero 6, and then my Hero 7, I don't want to pull that apart unless I buy another Hero 7. Hopefully that gives you some initial thoughts straight away on which dome to actually get. There's a bunch of different companies which sell these. I have the G-Dome specific one because I'm a big fan of Chris Rogers. Shout out to Chris Rogers. Turbo, love you. Whenever you're shooting with a dome, it's really important that you have top lighting. So like mid-morning, midday, or mid-afternoon, you're gonna get like the perfect conditions. It's not gonna work so well at either sunrise or sunset because essentially you're not gonna have the light shining underneath the water. I did a shoot in Hawaii and I was trying to capture some turtles underneath the water and I noticed that it was just way too dark. There wasn't enough light coming down to light up the water. So perfect conditions for this are like pretty much midday, top sun, where you can get clarity underneath the ocean. Now, perfect location for shooting with a dome is like a pool, an estuary, deep water, like deep ocean, creeks, anywhere where the water is essentially calm. If the water is moving too fast and too quickly, it's harder to control it and it's harder to get a good shot. That's not to say you can't. I've got some really great content at the base of a waterfall and you know, the water was literally pumping down onto the surface. A lot of these domes as well have water level lines or water marks imprinted on the back. That's great if you're shooting in 16:9. That's cool if you want to shoot any video sequences or if you want to shoot wide angle shots. But if you're shooting any portrait stuff, which I tend to do a lot, you don't have those markers. So you just have to be a little bit more manual in your approach. I always make sure that the dome is probably like 70-30 because it's that underwater subject that I'm mostly more interested in than above water. But again, it really depends on like where you're shooting. You know, I've captured some really great stuff where I've come up to a boat, I've been underwater. The underwater element of the photo has been less important to the above water. So, you know, you have to weigh that up. Also, when you're shooting with a dome, it's really important to take into consideration water magnification. You'll notice that on just a straight 50-50 split, if the dome is perpendicular to the water, you'll see the water magnification will blow up what's underneath the water, like your pants or your legs will look way bigger. Anyone concerned about like blowing up their thighs or their legs or just looking way bigger down the bottom than they are, yeah, take into consideration or think about water magnification. If you're directly perpendicular with the water magnification is gonna blow up them legs. So yeah, you can tilt the dome so that it's slightly back so you're gonna have less magnification, or you can move your subject back. You got 2 options there. You know, I tend to notice, like what I tend to like to do when I'm shooting with dome is just play around with a bunch of shots, and that comes down to being fluid and working with the right settings on the camera. The way that I tend to counteract this is shooting in burst. If I'm shooting a backflip, what I like to do is I set the camera up with 30 frames over 6 seconds, so 36. Dial that into your GoPro and do your action sequence. If I'm shooting anything like splashing water, I'll shoot it on burst as well, but I'll do it over 3 seconds. So I can find, I can really pick the frame that I want. Again, the beauty of shooting with dome is that it's fluid. Like, you're not capturing content that's still life. You're playing around with motion and moving subjects, which is where I live. I love that element of like capturing water and capturing motion. So that's why I like working with this little thing. One of you guys hit me up on Instagram, I think your name was Michael, and you said like, hey, how do you deal with like water distortion on the lens? What I do is I make sure before every single sequence, I dunk the dome into the water so that it's like cleans the slate. You might also do that and you'll still notice some water droplets. I still do. To counteract that, you can either buy SprayX or you can go onto G-Dome, or there's lots of third-party like glass water repellents. So just rub that on, spray that all over your dome, and I'll link a couple of products in the description of this that will help you out in that regard. But yeah, I'm pretty chill, man. I don't take it too seriously. Like, if I don't get the shot, I don't get the shot. If I'm doing any kind of walking shots like the one I posted on Instagram, I had Rob holding the camera. We had it on time lapse, half second wide, and all I did was I walked straight towards the sandbank, and I just picked the frame where my body looked the most natural and wasn't all like goofy or weird, or like, yeah, chucked it into Lightroom, played around with the color a little bit, posted it onto IGs. The last thing that I will say in terms of a dome is to make sure you protect the lens. Like, this is essentially your camera lens, and I have had a problem in the past. Like, I have a scratch on this lens. I have 2 scratches, here and here. I was at this creek, I was shooting Josephine Falls up in FNQ, where I'm from in North Queensland, and straight up just like dropped it onto the rocks and scratched it. Just stupid. So I highly recommend getting one of the neoprene cases, or if you ever buy Logitech headphones, you get this kind of circle case. It's perfect. Just zip straight up, and that's gonna help you out when you're traveling. It's gonna help you out when it's just gonna protect it, So yeah, get one of them. Guys, I hope this has helped you. The whole purpose of me making these tutorials is to actually help you guys make better content. I'd love to see some of the content. Tag me on Instagram, use the hashtag JakeRichDome, and we'll go through, and maybe I don't know, I'm not gonna repost any of your photos, but I'll at least comment on them. So if you have liked this video, if it has helped, do chuck it a thumbs up. And if you like this content, you like GoPro content, or you like travel and adventure stuff, subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications on, and yeah. I've got some affiliate links below. If you want to support the channel, you can use them. If not, holler at your next video. See you guys. JR. Peace.